Let's get started. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. If you don't know me, my name is Savannah.carabin. I'm the Business Operations and Marketing Coordinator for the Bluefield, West Virginia Economic Development Authority, and I also work for the city. We're hosting this class as a supplement to our My Own Business Institute, or MOBI, training. That's how some of you may have found out about office hours, but if you are not aware, this topic and many more business-related topics are covered in our online Entrepreneurs Bootcamp. We have two modules. You have starting a business and expanding your business. BETA was created to spearhead the Intuit Alorica project and work as a catalyst to continue developing Intuit's partnership to ensure sustainability. BETA has taken on the role of ensuring growth opportunities, development, and mentorship to the region's business owners and entrepreneurs. We're thankful for the city's partnership with Intuit and Intuit's investment in you. So we are so glad that you've joined us, and I'm going to turn it over to our Executive Director, Jim Spencer.
Thank you, Savannah. Appreciate everyone being here this morning, and this is sort of informal. We do office hours and to support entrepreneurs in business. So at the end of this, if there's any additional programs, things like that, ideas for concepts that you need help on, please let us know. I know some of you have been in the room where I'm sitting now with our partner wall with the wooden nickels here over my shoulder that for training classes of partners that have offered. And we're proud today to have several of our partners with us to talk about their program. And our goal is to be a support to the region. So we don't offer classes in typewriter repair or anything like that. We want to offer relative content and provide it at the speed of business. So we appreciate you being here today, and anything we can do to help, please let us know. We're going to introduce our panel, let them speak for a few minutes about their programs, especially with services they offer and the loan programs, funding, things like that. And then we'll turn it over to you to answer questions. So if you want to chat in some questions to Savannah, then we'll address those at the end. So we'll start, Kim, if you don't mind, I'm going to have the SBA come in as the heavy hitter at the end, batting cleanup. And so we appreciate you being with us today. But we'll start with Region 1 and their executive director, and they cover the southern part of the state, and Jason Roberts is their director. We work very closely with him, and they've got some great programs. So Jason, take it from here.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate the opportunity to be on a panel, and thank you all for participating there in the virtual audience. As Jim mentioned, my name is Jason Roberts. I'm the executive director of Region 1 PDC, and we are a unit of local government that serves 6 southern West Virginia counties and all the municipalities therein. And we primarily work kind of behind the scenes. You know, we're not really on the radar screen. We work with communities to develop infrastructure projects, water, sewer, broadband, economic development, and we work hand in hand with our economic development partners like Jim and some of his counterparts within the region. And I will say that you all are very fortunate to be working with Jim and Savannah, because they are very aggressive. Usually we're having to push and pull people along, but we often find ourselves trying to keep up with Jim and Savannah. But I'm going to speak just very briefly about our loan programs. We have had for years a revolving loan fund that's funded primarily through the U.S. Economic Development Administration and local financial institutions. And that traditional RLF we have is geared primarily towards higher risk loan grantees or firms, startups that are unavailable to get traditional financing because it's a new entity or higher risk. That's a qualifier for our traditional RLF program. But we did just recently receive some additional funding from USEDA specific to the CARES Act. So this is funding that's geared primarily towards rebuilding or recovery or new business startup as a result of the COVID pandemic. And we're very happy to work with any of you all to see what we can do in pushing those loans out. Again, we serve the 6 counties, so that is our footprint of where we can lend these monies to. And what I'm going to do now is I'll turn it over to Jeff Johnson. He is our community development director, and he's got a very strong banking background. And Jeff is the conduit for the application process. He's the one that helps develop the projects. So I'll turn it over to Jeff now, and he can kind of go into the specifics on the process for applying for the revolving loan funds, what they can be used for, the effective caps that you can apply for, things like that. So Jeff, I'll turn it over to you now to get a little bit more in the weeds with that.
Very good. Thank you, Jason. Am I muted? Let me see.
You are good.
Okay, I can't see myself. As Jason said, the U.S. Department of Commerce has, through the CARES Act, gave us a grant for CARES Act COVID-19 RLF fund, a revolving loan fund. Any business that self-identifies as having had damage, economic damage from the COVID-19 pandemic is eligible for these low interest loans, and the terms are negotiable, and all the business has to do is identify and tell how the pandemic has damaged their business. Our application process, if they contact us or anyone that we've shared this information with, we will send them an application and also describe our loan process, and then they'll also need to give us a financial statement, a pro forma sources and uses of funds, and a business plan. And then we'll take that information to our loan review committee, and should they want further information, we'll request it at that time, but we'll try to keep it moving as fast as possible and have a good turnaround. The only expense for the applicant is the attorney fees that we require that they have a closing attorney, and it goes through our attorney. Both those fees will be part of the expense for the borrower. Other than that, any type of loan is good. I personally wouldn't recommend a construction loan, but if you want to, it's possible. Just remember that any construction is subject to Davis-Bacon wages, and to calculate that into your loan application. But other than that, when you have questions, I'll try to answer them. I'm sure that Jason and I, between us, can come up with an answer. That's all I've got.
Jim, you're muted.
I muted myself there. I was unmuted, and then I turned around and muted myself. Thank you for letting me know, Savannah. But thank you, Jeff and Jason, for what they do. And we also have another dynamic young professional, and that's Christy Laxton with Wyoming County. And some may think, well, I'm in Mercer County, or I'm in Monroe County, or wherever it may be. But Christy's program goes beyond Wyoming County, and she's actually done projects in Mercer County. And so we're glad to have her today with us. And she's the Executive Director of the Wyoming County Economic Development Authority. So Christy.
Good morning. Thank you, Jim, for letting me join you guys this morning, and I'm excited to be here. I'm going to talk a little bit about our Emergency Relief Loan Fund that is funded through the Appalachian Regional Commission. And we started this fund kind of based on what we did during our flood relief efforts that we did back in 2001, which started all of our loan funds here at the Wyoming County EDA. And so we've been doing this for 19 years now. And this fund will be based on all West Virginia counties. So any county in West Virginia is eligible for this fund. They have to have a current West Virginia business license that has been in existence since February 15th of 2019. So they would have had to have been in business for at least a year before the pandemic. It has to be 20 employees or less. They have to be current on their West Virginia state taxes. They also have to verify loss during the pandemic. They have to provide tax returns for their business for up to 3 years, depending on how long they've been in business. We're also looking at priority being given to those that have not received PPP or EIDL. So if someone applies to the fund that has not received either of those, then they would get top priority for the relief fund. As far as the loan process, we are currently taking pre-eligibility applications on our website at wyomingcounty.com. There's a pre-eligibility application. They can go on there and fill that out. If they do not qualify for AIR fund, then we will vet those out to other loan funds across the state that they may be eligible for, including Jason's fund. So if someone isn't eligible for AIR fund immediately, then we would send them to one of the funds that could help them if AIR's can't. AIR fund is mainly for working capital. It's not for really construction or new loans or anything like that. It's mainly for working capital and those that have had a loss during COVID. The maximum amount of the loan is $25,000 or 2 months of their gross receipts before COVID. So that's the maximum amount of the loan. The proceeds of the loan, again, can only be used for working capital. And then they are only, the only cost is a $200 processing fee at the end of the process. So if they're approved, there is a $200 processing fee that the borrower can pay out of pocket, or it can be taken from the loan proceeds. Everything is done from start to finish electronically. So everything is online through a DocuSign portal that we were able to do through a Benedum grant. So we're grateful for that as well, for that partnership. Loan interest and principal is deferred for 6 months. And then there's a 5-year term on all of the loans, and the interest is fixed at 3%. So all of those are fixed from the beginning. And there's no prepayment penalties or anything like that. So everything is ready to go. We have dispersed 4 loans currently in 2 different counties to 4 businesses at $43,000. We have 45 applications out right now waiting to be returned back to us. But we do still have money still available. So we're still taking pre-eligibility applications. So feel free to, continue to send those applications in, and we look forward to continuing to help the businesses across the state of West Virginia.
Thank you, Christy. We appreciate that. And if you notice in Region 1, they serve McDowell, Mercer, Monroe, Raleigh, Summers, and Wyoming County. So Christy works very closely with Jason, especially on projects and things there. Our next person, actually it's sitting with Christy, is Harold Patterson, who is with the Small Business Development Center. He's a business coach that covers the southern part of the state, one of our partners, and they have a wooden nickel here on the wall you might be able to see. But Harold, tell us more about some of the things that you all are doing and some program services that you all offer.
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, everybody. We at the Small Business Development Center try to help startup businesses and expansion in older businesses. I always tell everybody that we're kind of a one-stop shop for everybody. No matter what your need is, we try to get you the help that you're looking for. Part of the biggest job that I do is in the business planning part. I try to help you with all phases of your business plan. I do not write those plans for you, but I can do a lot of heavy editing. I can do a lot of suggestions for you. I'm the kind of guy that you bounce your ideas off of, and I bounce back my thoughts. I'll get people like Jim involved or Christy, and we'll bounce ideas off of you to make sure that you're headed in the right direction, which is our main goal. We want everybody to have a successful business, a healthy business, and a business that will grow in the future. We also do a lot of training. Been involved with Jim in several of his trainings. We provide trainings online through our svdc.com website. There's a startup video there. It's about 45 minutes long. We try to tailor our trainings now to meet the needs of whatever the clients are telling us out there in the field. Part of this today came about when Jim and I was discussing what do we need to do, and I said let's just have a question and answer session for everybody, because we need to find out what you guys are thinking, and this is what we're doing. I cover Wyoming, McDowell, Mercer, Summers, and Monroe counties. On the road quite a bit. I'm stationed at Bluefield State. Hopefully in the near future, I'll be stationed there at Jim's place at the Innovation Lab. If you have any type of business need, just give us a call.
Thank you, Harold. And Harold's a great resource. There's a lot of times I'll text him or email him a question that people ask me that I can't answer. And it's good to have a network of folks that can answer. And as we were talking about trainings and things like that, because of COVID-19, we're deploying more online training. We actually have an entrepreneurial boot camp that is free for folks that want to register. It's 15 modules that you can take, and then you will graduate with a certificate from Santa Clara University, and we're proud of our partnership with them. They also have modules in business expansion. And I use this example all the time. You could be the world's best plumber, best in the world, bar none, and still fail at business, because there's a lot of other things that go into operating a business. You know, cash flow, inventory, managing employees, things like that, customer relations, marketing. And so we try to fill those gaps with our training through the My Own Business Institute, and in programs like we're doing today with the office hours. Our cleanup hitter today, and I love baseball, so I'm missing baseball right now. Our cleanup hitter is Kim Donahue. I've had the privilege to meet her a few years ago. Dynamic lady, enjoy having conversations with her. The SBA is a tremendous partner. They've been in our region quite a bit. And so we appreciate having Kim with us today. Kim, tell us more about the SBA.
Thank you. Well, the SBA, Small Business Administration, is a federal agency. We've been around since the Eisenhower administration. I haven't been around that long. Thank you very much. We are probably better known for SBA loan guarantees, and those can range anywhere up to a 90% guarantee for export loans, down to a 50%. The big, as you say, the heavy hitter, I'll use that language as well, is probably our generic 7A loan, where those guarantees go anywhere from 75 to 85%, depending on how much you're requesting. How that happens is, let's say you and your lender, you think you've got a good loan, the lender thinks you got a good loan, but maybe it's not quite up to the bank or credit union's lending standards. So what that lender can do with your permission is to go out and get a guarantee from the federal government. And so that makes them more likely to accept your loan and to get capital in the small business community. I'll be honest, the things that we've been working on most recently with COVID, probably since about March 15th, has been really, number one, SBA's Economic Injury Disaster Loan. It's the only time that SBA lends directly to businesses or not-for-profits. And in the past, I think as of through the end of August, I checked our stats, there have been about 7,200 of those for $388 million. I will tell folks, if you have not gone through one and you are about to, the portal to get that done is online. It's very easy to use. Don't sweat it. Oops. And just kind of do all that, but make sure that you have your information straight right at the outset, because the first look at those is all electronic. And so there are a lot of automatic denials because the banking information doesn't match the information that you've sent, or your business name's a little different, or it can be even things, it can be addresses don't match, that sort of thing. So make sure that you pay particular attention to that. And if you are denied, get with somebody like Harold and ask for what they call reconsideration. There's a whole process in place for doing that, and I would encourage everyone to do that. You have nothing to lose by getting a second shot at this. It has been not easy to do because there have been, as I recall, in April, we had 6 million loan requests. We're now working on or have had about 14 million. And so the agency, I think, has never seen this volume. So to a certain extent, that division of SBA is learning as they go. The other big one, which the applications, the funding has run out, is the Paycheck Protection Program. And right now we're in the forgiveness mode. And so Treasury, who's technically in charge of that, are using SBA programs and SBA staff folks like myself to answer questions and to get folks up to speed as to how they can get those loans forgiven 100%. And to me, that's my goal, is to make sure that everybody who is eligible forgiveness for those PPP loans get that. We've had about, and don't quote me on this, I think we've had about 19,000 loans in the state. And unless I'm putting my commas in the wrong place, for about $1.9 billion. So West Virginia banks, particularly our smaller community banks, really did a good job in promoting this program to West Virginia small businesses. So we're very pleased about that. Right now, we are doing Tuesdays and Wednesdays at noon. Every Tuesday and Wednesday, we're doing PPP EZ, taking folks step by step through the EZ application for forgiveness. And then on Thursdays at noon, we're doing a Q&A. Well, sort of like this, where we'll just say, whatever question you've got, ask it. We will answer it to the best of our ability. And those are a little scary, but a lot of fun, I'll tell you that. And then, of course, if folks want to know more about the EIDL, we have some colleagues at Thursdays at 2 are giving a complete overview of that EIDL program, not only how to make sure you're eligible, but also they go into detail about how to ask for reconsideration. That's about it.
Thank you, Kim. Do you understand now why that I said she is the cleanup hitter in the program this morning? I think there's some questions that have already been chatted into Savannah. And Savannah, if you want to ask those and let our panel weigh in on the questions.
All right, our first question is a business plan required for these loan programs?
Jeff, for the Region 1's CARES Act or their regular RLF program, yes, we require a business plan.
Okay. And if you need assistance with your business plan, Harold would be a great contact.
This is Christy, and for our Emergency Relief Loan Fund, there is not a business plan requirement, but for our regular loan funds, there is. So.
This is Jim. Let me follow up and ask Harold a question on the business plan. I think sometimes people are intimidated by doing a business plan. And so I know that you have templates that can be used, things like that. So Harold, spend a little bit of time talking about the business plan, walking through the process. I know that one thing that the My Own Business Institute teaches through the programs we offer with them is they teach write the executive summary for your business plan first, then do your plan, all the different modules, and then go back and revisit your executive summary. And I like that concept because a lot of times through training and education, your executive summary is going to change. So by the time you go through the process, you may be changing your executive summary on how you're going to deliver your services or whatever it may be. And it makes you take a holistic look at your business. So Harold, talk a little bit about a business plan and maybe some key components that you see in a business plan.
Part of the business plan, the biggest part of the business plan that the people have the most concern is just getting started. It really intimidates them to think that I have to write this book report, this big book report that they hated to do in high school. So what I try to do is relieve those fears and try to calm them down. I try to find a business plan that's pretty close to what they're doing. Sometimes I can get it exact, sometimes I can't, but I'll get it as close as I can to make them comfortable with reading what their hopes and desires are for their business. take a beauty shop. There are many business plans out there for a beauty shop. So I'll sit down with them, I'll get them that plan, and then I'll start going over section by section as to what I think they should maybe try to put in there. Even to the point, if they can't really write, just writing down bullet points for that section. We have outlines, and like I said, we also have sample plans that we can give to the clients. Part of the major things that I tell people to do when they come to see me, number one, a resume. Start out with a resume, because in the management section, we have to put words to that resume. We have to tell everybody your experience. We have to show the lenders that you're capable of running this business, that you'll be able to direct the business in a way that it's going to be profitable in the end. You've done you're capable of doing your research and make it profitable. The other thing I tell them to concentrate on in a lot of ways is the budget. How much money are you going to borrow, and how much money do you need to sustain yourself when you get the business started? Those are two of the biggest things that I concentrate on when we start talking as far as putting the plan together. Another thing that really kind of intimidates everybody are the financial forecasts. But again, I show them that I have templates, and I kind of talk them through in basic terms of a cash flow. Your income comes from these sources. Your expenses are coming from these sources. And then we just kind of subtract those out, and hopefully there's a profit left over. I try to show them in simple terms not to be afraid of those charts and graphs that they see everywhere.
One thing, Harold, I've noticed, and I'll say it for the panel, that in some of the projects you and I have worked on together, and I've heard you ask many of the entrepreneurs, what is your time worth? And so when you're starting out your business, you need to take a look at that, because unless you're, and I jokingly say running a nonprofit, you've got to make a little bit of money. We were working with a local contractor, and it's been about a year ago. And I asked him, I said, when you go to Lowe's or some home supply, Ferguson Enterprises, wherever it may be, do you charge the client for your time to go get the materials? And they said, no, we don't. We only charge them for the materials. And I asked him, I said, is your truck free? Is your gas free? What's your time worth? So a lot of times you've got to take a look at that, because you can be losing money and just not billing for everything. And you need to have separate accounting. I heard somebody one time tell Harold that, they basically run it out of their personal finances. They need to be separate. It's easier to track. Is that right, Harold?
Oh yeah, I've had a lot of people come in with their checkbooks, their personal checkbooks, and need to have me separate the business from the personal. And that's just not the way to do it. That's not the proper way to do it.
Savannah, what's our next question?
All right, our next question is, this person is interested in the COVID-19 related sick pay. If we can elaborate on that.
Yeah, I can take that.
Okay, and they are on this call with us. So if this is your question, feel free to elaborate in the chat box.
Well, I presume, until I see something in the chat box, that you're talking about the Families First Coronavirus Act. That is a federal act. As I recall, it was part of the CARES Act. And what that requires is for companies that have fewer than 500 employees, that they are to supply up to 2 weeks of paid or partially paid sick leave for folks who are either sick with coronavirus or have a family member that they're caring for, et cetera. There is an exemption available for businesses under 50. That's probably the most I can say about that, because it's not something we've had the time to delve into a great deal. But if you want to learn more about that, there's an extensive list of frequently asked questions available at the Federal Department of Labor's website. And so just go search dol.gov and put in Families First, and it will take you to the FAQs. And if you have a question, I would I would be surprised if the answer was not there.
Thank you so much. Our next question is how to reduce federal tax deposits.
If the person that asked that one is online, if they can elaborate a little bit more on that question, it may help our panel.
Melissa, would you like to turn or unmute your mic and elaborate? And Melissa, if you can hear us, I don't know if you're unable to unmute your mic or if you don't have a microphone, we will be happy to follow up with you after this call one-on-one, and we can get you the answers for that. And we have another question, and that is, how would someone go about converting their partnership to an LLC?
I can take a stab at that.
Okay.
What we generally try to do when we talk to people that want to change incorporations is to get them to do it around the first of the year. And that would make your bookkeeper and your accountant a whole lot happier if you do that. First of all, you would have to make the changes with the Secretary of State's office to change from your partnership to an LLC. Since you decided to change to the LLC, we would sit down and talk to you about the different tax ramifications of choosing either the corporation tax inside the LLC or the sole proprietor partnership tax designations inside the LLC. We also talk to you about your partnership agreements, bringing those over and updating those to make sure that everything's current. We talk to you about, oh Lord, Kim, you want to help me out?
Well, I was just thinking about, as you were talking about some of that, is that even though at the state level you're becoming an LLC, for the federal government, you're considered a disregarded entity. That doesn't mean they don't, they don't like you, but the LLC is a state construct and not a federal. So as a default, if you are a single member LLC, they're going to treat you for federal tax purposes as if you are still a sole proprietor. And in this instance, as a partnership, they're still going to tax you at the federal level like a partnership. What you can do is to tell them at the same time, there's actually a paper document you can fill out, but there's an online version of that as well, is that you can say, no, I want to be taxed like a subchapter S corporation, which is, it's kind of the same thing. There are just some additional requirements. Now, you've probably made this decision with your accountant in mind, and so probably I would hope that part of it is, hey, I want to pay myself a regular salary and maybe be taxed as a sole proprietor. The advantage for you is that instead of a partnership or a sole prop having to pay all of your self-employment expenses, your self-employment taxes, if you are a subchapter S, or reporting as a subchapter S, you have the advantage of that the company, your business, is actually going to pay match the employment taxes that you would pay. So that's a huge advantage. The other thing I'd like to add is that we've also, when we're doing the PPP, et cetera, we found a lot of businesses who are actual subchapter S corporations who are taking their pay out of the business as a dividend, either throughout the year or at the end of the year. That's really not kosher. You really do need to pay yourself a regular salary if you are structured as a subchapter S corporation.
As a follow-up to that, one of the things back to the business plan is a lot of folks don't really take a total look at their structure in the beginning. And matter of fact, with the training program we offer with the Entrepreneurial Boot Camp with Santa Clara University, there is a module that gets into that structure. And it has a video that uses the story of the three little pigs and the big bad wolf as liability and what that does to a partnership, sole proprietor, and to an LLC. And I think it's a very good video. It makes you think because liability is real. And so that's one of the things that we encourage folks to take a serious look at when they're developing their business plan. Savannah, I think you may have Melissa back with us.
Melissa, so I'm going to prompt you to unmute your microphone. And there should be a bar along the bottom of the screen. And it should say mute, stop video, security, participant, so on and so forth. If you move your mouse to the bottom of the screen or hover over it, you should be able to see it. There is that mute button. It should have a little line through it, meaning that you are muted. If you would press that, you should be able. Perfect.
I was doing this on my phone and it just wasn't showing up. Sorry about that.
No worries, it happens.
So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, and I can't hear you now. Is that supposed to happen?
Can you hear me? Can everyone else?
Now I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was asking about the pay for COVID-19. If an employee is sick and he has symptoms and he goes to be tested, I know you have to pay them for that time. If other employees are scared and go be tested, they would qualify as well, right?
I'll be honest, I haven't gotten into the weeds on that. And so I, off the top of my head, I think so, but we need to check on that. I, believe it or not, this is my last day before vacation. And so if you would email, wvinfo@sba.gov, I'll make sure that somebody's waiting for your question and we'll get that answer right back to you.
Do you mind to drop that email in the chat box?
Well, sure.
Thank you.
Melissa, did you have another question?
I got one more. Yes. The reducing your deposits by the amount of that pay. If you pay several employees, then and you reduce your federal deposits for the payroll tax and the Medicare tax, or the employer portion of the Medicare tax. What if it's more than your actual tax owed? What do you do about that? Sorry.
You're good. Any of our panelists want to take a stab at that one?
Okay.
Not really.
Sorry.
Melissa, I'll tell you what, if you put that in that
Yes.
In an email to Savannah, we'll try to follow up with folks and also with the WV info
Okay.
at sba.gov. The one thing about what I have noticed during COVID-19 is the federal government has tried to very quickly implement programs, and so a lot of times there's not all the questions have been flushed out. So that's the tough part. So I appreciate the panel trying to weigh in on that, but I knew there would be some questions today we'd have to take home and do some homework to get back to you, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Hey,
Man,
Jim.
do you have-
Hey, Jim.
Yes, sir.
I've got a question for Kim. What were the top one or two things that you saw that businesses were complaining about with the PPP and the IO?
Number one for PPP is that, again, as Jim said, because it was initiated and developed so quickly that some of the rules would change, or that as they did change. So for example, when it originally started, you were able to count your 1099 contractors as part of your payroll for 2019 in estimating the PPP loan. However, we later find out that, yeah, that was valid, but you cannot actually pay those 2019 folks. And again, it was a problem in like the very first iteration. They fixed it fairly quickly, but I know that we're still getting questions like, can I pay subcontractors with PPP funds? Well, you can pay them. You're just just not going to be eligible for forgiveness, number one. The other thing is that folks are just kind of, I don't think they paid attention to the fact that if 100% of your loan, your PPP loan, is not forgiven, that there are consequences. It is that loan then turns into that forgivable loan then turns into a loan at either a 2 or a 5 year term for 1%. That's great. 1% is good, but a lot of folks were not really aware that that was part of it. So that's number two. Probably the biggest thing, I don't want to take up too much time, is the issue around the EIDL advance, because people could take advantage of both the PPP loan program and the economic injury disaster loan, right? But part of the economic injury disaster loan was the front side of it was actually a grant, and it was up to $10,000 based on the amount of $1,000 per employee. What folks did not realize, what we did not realize, and was not clarified until much later, was that, whoa, you only get one bite at the grant apple. And so if you took that EIDL advance, that grant, $1,000 to $10,000, that's actually going to be deducted for your PPP amount of forgiveness. So let's say you got a $100,000 PPP loan and you got a $10,000 EIDL grant. You've got all your documentation. You give it to the bank. The bank says, hey, this is fabulous. You've got documentation for all $100,000 here. You spent it appropriately. They send it on up to SBA. SBA is going to deduct that $10,000. And so that remainder, that $10,000 that initially was a grant, is going to turn into a 1% loan. And so that just wasn't as clear as it probably could have been at the very beginning. And so that's a big complaint that we're hearing.
That's good. Thank you on that. Two other things before I turn it back to Savannah, and these are questions that I've had before that I touch base on. Number one is storytelling, and we have a module with our training classes on business storytelling. And I've said many times, if you don't tell your story, somebody else will, and you probably won't like how they tell it. So if you go back to my example, being the world's best plumber, nobody may know that, so I don't get any business. So businesses have to do a better job in telling their story, especially during COVID-19, because we're having to adapt in the midst of change. We have a module training on that. Businesses are having to change how they do business themselves, whether it be curbside pickup as a restaurant, whatever it may be. So with our panel, Savannah, do you have any more questions?
Nope, we do not have any more questions.
I'd like to let each of the panelists, if they want to say something in closing, maybe something that's come to mind for them during this event, or anything else, maybe a question they've had. So Jeff, we'll start with you. Are there any comments from Region 1 that you want to say in closing for our group today?
Oh, sure, Jim. Like I say, we're interested in helping any business that has been damaged by the pandemic. So you can call me, you can email me. Jim will help you get in touch with us. Just if you'd like an application, we'll send you one and we'll help you with it, and let us help you. That's the only thing I can add. We want to make the loans that will help people overcome COVID-19.
Thank you, Jeff. Christy?
Yes, I just put the link to the pre-eligibility application in the chat. But we're here to help those people as well with their working capital needs. We have been, working with the people that have, lost everything due to the business closure, and then we're still working with people that are starting brand new businesses. So we've seen, the full gamut of the entire situation during the pandemic, but we're here to help businesses across the state of West Virginia with anything that they need. So thank you for letting me join on the call today.
Thank you, Christy. Harold?
Just thank everybody for being here, and thank you for letting me be here. Of course, I work with Region 1, and Kim is probably one of my best sources of information. I work with Christy. They send clients to me. I help them with their business planning and try to get a good business plan back to them. If you have any business needs whatsoever, We don't shy away from anything. Just give us a call, and I'll call on somebody and get some help.
Thank you, Harold. And our cleanup hitter, Kim.
I've been thinking about this quite a lot, Jim. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. And one of the things that comes clear to many of the business, not all, but many of the businesses that I'm talking to, is that they have not thought through completely how to, I'm going to use the word everybody else uses, how to pivot their businesses to accept this new reality. You have a situation where my mom's 76, she's buying her groceries online. We were already moving towards e-commerce as to being a major factor. We were already moving towards we were there really on social media as your best way to tell your story. And I'm still running across a few businesses who say, oh, I don't do that, or I don't have time for that. Well, you have to make time. You have to make time for both of those things. And if you don't, you could well be left behind.
I think you're right. Jason, last but not least, you have some closing comments for our group?
Well, I just want to thank the city and, the EDA there and the other panelists and participants for chiming in and listening and having this discussion. And I want to reiterate what Jeff and Christy and Cam and Harold have said. We'll all do what we can to help. And the thing to keep in mind is, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. And like Harold said, we all work together. So don't be shy about picking up the phone or talking to me or Jeff. Even before you submit a formal application, just call us and we'll have a discussion, because if we think that we might not be able to be a good fit for you, we may know someone else who is. So we'll be more than happy to have those conversations. As Jeff said, we'll be happy to send you the applications. Savannah also has our application, so I'm sure she'll be happy to push it out. And I'll put my email address in the chat box here, and we just look forward to helping you all however we can.
And I think Jason's right. I've said before that economic development is a team sport. It's not an individual sport. And that's why we have the wall of wooden nickels that I've made in our makerspace of our partners. And I think it's very important. So of my own business institute classes that we partner with Santa Clara University, 2 of our 10 graduates are from Monroe County. Well, that's not near Bluefield, but that's important. So a lot of times we don't mind if it's Virginia, West Virginia, whatever. If there's something we can do to support businesses in the region, we're glad to help. We do have a class, as I mentioned earlier, the business storytelling, I think Savannah's going to mention for next week. And I'd like to brag on Savannah. She's been with me now for a little bit over 3 months. And I think we've always had a very strong marketing and social media platform and things like that, but she's taken it to the next level. She's even been able to teach me things. And at my age, if you know me very well, me learning something, that's a big accomplishment. So Savannah, tell them about the class next week.
Thank you so much for your kind words. And to all of our panelists, thank you so much for joining us. Next week, we are going to be having office hours, the best kept secrets of social media marketing. This is going to be extremely informative. You're going to want to grab some pen and paper. And it's going to be interactive. So anyone is welcome to join this session. And if you have any questions about today, and if you are viewing this recording on YouTube, if you need to get in touch with any of these folks, please shoot me an email. My email address was at the beginning of this presentation, and it will be listed in the description box on YouTube. And that being said, there is a survey that I just dropped in the chat. If you are participating with us live, please go ahead and click on that survey. If you are joining us on YouTube, the survey will be in the description box, and we would appreciate it so much if you can fill out that survey.
The surveys are important for us to understand what your needs are so that we can continue with the office hour programs to support exactly what you need. So please let us know, and we're open to your honest input. And so I'd like to thank everybody for doing this today. Savannah, thank you again. She is quarterbacking the office hour program. So if you have any questions, she's a great resource. Please let her know. So thank everyone for attending today. Savannah, is there anything else we need to cover before we close out?
No, that is all. And thank you to our participants and our panelists.
Thank you.
Thanks.